wait. Okay, so you're from Temecula. You're born?
I'm born in Chino Hills area, so I lived in Chino Hills till 90. I was born in 82, so I was in Chino Hills till 91, and my dad and the company he worked for moved out to Murrieta in 92.
Wow.
So I've been out here since 92.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And then, so how did you meet Allison?
It's Match.com.
Really? I've actually heard dozens
Yeah.
of
Yes.
successful stories
Oh,
about
yeah.
this.
So
tell us about how that went.
Oh yeah, so this is pretty awesome. So my wife is 2 levels above me, like in terms of just hot factor. Like my wife walks into a room and she literally is going to turn every head. And I'm not one of those guys that's jealous or anything. Like I love and I'm fortunate that my wife is awesome and also really, really pretty. And so I was on Match.com and I see this like wink in my inbox and I was like, click on it and I was like, it's like,
Is that like
this
a
girl
poke?
is really, I was like, this girl's really hot, like really, really, really hot. And I was kind of at the point in my life, I was just turning 30. So I had sowed my oats. I had just moved back and bought a house in Orange County. I had just moved out from downtown San Diego, where I lived in Gaslamp for a couple of years and bought a house in Orange County and just moved into it. And I was like, this girl's really, really pretty. She's from Texas. I was like, because I was kind of burned out at the time. I was like, I lived in Orange County and dated in Orange County for a long time, then lived in Gaslamp, dated nothing but like people that were in the scene in Gaslamp. So I was just burned out. And so I purposely went on there because I was like, okay, I want somebody that doesn't know what I do for work, that doesn't know what car I drive, that doesn't know anything about me, that we can connect literally just through either an email or so. There was an attractive part of that aspect for me. It wasn't that like, and for her it was the same thing. She was just she lived in LA. She had, worked in lived in Texas her whole life and had won some big modeling contests in Texas and moved out after college to LA because she wanted to be in broadcast journalism. She wanted to be like an E news reporter and things like that. So she had moved out there and was working in that industry and just, like anything else, she was having a good time dating in that scene and everything else. So she was at the same point I was, and she was just like, well, I'm not going to email the guy. So her friend at work was just like, well, he's not, you're in LA, he's down there. She was like, just like whatever it was called, I don't remember, wink or poke or just, it's like, hey, this person thought you were cute. It's pretty much like the extent of what it is. And I was like, all right, I'm not going to just wink back. I'm going to message back, And so she still has
always a salesman.
Yep. She has that first thing. And so I wrote it back and so we ended up talking and like a week later, I was like, hey, I'm going to be in San Diego. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in San Diego too, randomly enough, because she was in LA and I was in Orange County. And I was like, do you want to meet up? And she was just like, yeah, let's definitely meet up, because we were both there. I was taking a couple of the guys that worked for me and I was taking them deep sea fishing and we were just going to go out to a nightclub that night. And then she will never let me live it down, because I did like the ultimate like douche move where I wrote to her, I'm like, hey, by the way, just so you know, like, everybody in kind of San Diego, like, just mention my name, you'll get in anywhere or something. Horrible. Like, I look at things and like, still with my buddies to this day. 'Cause when you're 28 or 29, like, you don't think and realize what an idiot you are. And then now in my late 30s, I look and I was just like, oh my God, I want to find myself and beat myself up, And so
She's like, okay.
she was like, okay, like, does he not realize that I'm a really pretty girl that lives in LA? I can kind of get in anywhere, right? Well, sure enough, it's funny because she ends up going to the nightclub where we go to, and two of the guys that run the door and own the nightclub are good. The guy that owned the nightclub lived across the hall from me, so we randomly end up being really good buddies. So she comes in, she's like, I'm here to see Brian or whatever, like, Deck or whatever. And he's like, I'll take you this way. So he like walks her in the door or whatever, her and her friend. They come down and they meet with us. And we're just we're in the middle of a nightclub. And we literally I remember we talked about like Sons of Anarchy and our dogs, all these random things in like the middle of a dance floor with just like EDM music just bouncing around us. We just sitting there and talked for like 2 or 3 hours. And then we ended up going on a couple dates. And we actually, believe it or not, that was in like beginning of October of 2012, and I bought her an engagement ring in December, 2.5 months later.
Oh.
Yeah, and then proposed.